Suddenly a voice came from somewhere close. Too close, but Abini did not move. But now there was only silence. She scanned the narrow alley, her grip steady on her knife. The walls on either side were high, rough with age, offering little space for someone to hide. Yet the speaker had vanished. She was being tested, pushed. Whoever they were, they wanted her to know that she was not the only one who could move unseen. Abini exhaled slowly. That was fine. She had spent years in the shadows. If they thought they could outmatch her, they were mistaken. She did not return home immediately. Instead, she moved through the town with purpose, tracing the edges of the marketplace, the riverbank, the paths where strangers passed unnoticed. She was searching for footprints, for whispers, for the scent of something out of place. And then she saw it. Near a small cluster of trees at the town's edge, the ground had been disturbed. Someone had stood here for a long time watching. Abini crouched, pressing her fingers lightly into the dirt. The earth was still soft. Whoever had been here had left only moments ago. A quiet challenge settled in her chest. They were watching. But so was she. And sooner or later they would make a mistake. When they did, she would be waiting. Abini straightened slowly, her eyes scanning the trees. The watcher had been here only moments ago. That meant one thing. They were close. Her grip on her knife remained firm as she took a step forward. The air was still, thick with the heat of the afternoon. Even the birds had gone silent. Then, a shift. The faintest rustle of leaves. Abini turned sharply, her gaze locking onto a shadow between the trees. It was quick, gone in an instant, but she had seen it. She moved fast, slipping between the trunks, her steps light. Whoever this was, they had been watching her for days. Now it was her turn to watch them. She followed the trail, small disturbances in the earth. The careful placement of feet meant to leave no trace. But Abini had spent years tracking those who did not wish to be found. And now, she was closing in. The trail led her toward the riverbank, where the trees thinned and the water glistened in the late afternoon sun. Then, a figure. Standing at the edge of the water, back turned to her, shoulders relaxed, as if they had been waiting. Abini did not hesitate. She stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "You've been watching me." The figure turned slowly. It was a tall man, dressed in simple clothing, his face partially shadowed by the light behind him, but his eyes were sharp. Then, he smiled. "I was wondering when you'd find me." Abini's fingers curled around the hilt of her knife. She did not know him, but something told her. This was only the beginning. Abini did not move. She studied the man carefully, memorizing every detail. He was tall but not intimidating. His clothes were simple, worn like those of a traveler. His posture was relaxed, but his eyes were watching her the way a hunter watches prey. "You've been following me," she said, her voice even. The man tilted his head slightly. "And you have been following me." Abini did not reply. She did not play games, she did not control. The man smiled faintly, as if he could hear her thoughts. Then after a brief silence, he spoke again. "My name is Olayemi." Abini said nothing. He waited, as if expecting her to give her own name in return. When she did not, his smile widened slightly. "You do not trust easily." She remained still. "Trust is earned." Olayemi nodded, stepping closer to the water's edge. The river was calm, reflecting the sky above. He gazed at it for a moment before speaking again. "I have watched you because I was curious." Abini's fingers tightened around her knife. "Curious? About what?" Olayemi turned his gaze back to her. This time there was no smile. "You are a woman with many stories," he said. "Stories people fear to tell." Abini's pulse remained steady, but inside, something shifted. Who was this man, and how much did he know? Olayemi studied her for a moment longer, then took a slow step back. "I will not force you to speak," he said, "but I will be here when you are ready." Then, without another word, he turned and walked away. Abini stood by the river, watching him disappear into the trees. She had spent years avoiding the past, keeping her secrets buried beneath silence. But now, Someone had come searching for them, and she was not sure if that made him a threat or something far more dangerous. Abini remained by the river long after Olayemi had disappeared into the trees. His words stayed with her, wrapping around her like a tightrope. You are a woman with many stories. Stories people fear to tell? How much did he know? And why had he come searching for her? Abini had spent years ensuring her past remained buried. She had left no loose ends, or so she had thought. By the time she returned home, the sky had turned a deep shade of orange, casting long shadows over Isale Osun. She approached her door cautiously, her senses sharp. The last time she had returned, she had found a mark left in the dirt. This time there was nothing. No footprints, no blades pressed into the earth. But something was different. The air felt too still. Abini pushed the door open and stepped inside. And then she saw it. A small wooden carving placed at the center of her floor. She froze. It was simple, roughly shaped, worn with age. But Abini knew what it meant. A message, a memory, a warning. Her fingers curled into fists. This was not Olayemi. This was someone else. Someone who knew who she used to be. Abini stared at the carving, her chest rising and falling in slow, controlled breaths. Her past was no longer hiding. It was standing at her door knocking, and this time she could not ignore it. Abini walked through the marketplace, her ears sharp, her eyes steady. She was looking for something, or someone, that did not belong. But the town moved as it always did. Women argued over the price of cassava, children chased each other through the narrow paths, and men gathered in shaded corners to share secrets over calabashes of palm wine. No one looked guilty. No one looked afraid. Whoever had come to her door had left no trace. Or so they thought. She returned home before dusk, moving carefully around the side of her small house. If they had stepped near her door, they might have left something behind. Then she saw it. Near the edge of the doorway, barely visible in the dirt, was a small impression. Not a footprint. Not a handprint. Something sharper. Something deliberate. Abini crouched, running her fingers lightly over the mark. It was faint, but she knew what it was. A blade. Someone had pressed the tip of a knife into the earth before stepping away. A silent message. Abini's pulse remained steady, but inside she knew. This was not a thief. This was not a random visitor. This was someone who understood her language, a challenge, or a warning. She rose to her feet slowly, her eyes hard. Whoever they were, they wanted her to know they were there. But they had made a mistake. They had shown their hand first, and Abini would not wait for them to strike again. She would find them first. Abini stood in her doorway, staring at the faint mark left behind. A blade pressed into the earth. Not an attack, not an accident, a message. Her grip tightened around the hilt of her own knife. Whoever had left this mark was not just watching. They wanted her to know they were close. She exhaled, slowly. Good. If they thought they could play this game with her, they would soon learn. Abini did not lose. She spent the next day watching more carefully. Not just the marketplace, not just the usual faces, but the small things. The way a man paused too long near her home. The way a woman at the yam stall looked up suddenly, as if sensing something unseen. The way Adigan, standing near a butcher's shop, turned his head slightly, as if he too had noticed the shift. Abini did not approach him. Not yet. This was her fight. But the moment came when she least expected it. As she turned a corner near the narrow alley leading back to her home, a shadow moved. A figure stepping just out of sight. Abini did not hesitate. She followed. Her footsteps were silent, her body steady, moving between walls that smelled of dust and old wood. The alley was empty now, but she knew what she had seen. Then, a voice. Low, measured, close. You're quick, it said, but not quick enough. Abini turned sharply, her knife already in her hand. But there was no one there. Only the wind. Only the silence. Her heart did not race, but her grip on her weapon tightened. The game had truly begun. And now she knew for certain she was not the only hunter in Isale Osun. Abini crouched slowly, her fingers hovering over the small wooden carving on the floor. She did not touch it, not yet. The carving was crude, but she knew its shape well. A small figure, its arms crossed over its chest. A symbol from long ago. A symbol from before. Abini's jaw tightened. Who had left this here? And what were they trying to say? She had spent years burying that part of her life. But now, someone was digging it up. She forced herself to sit, to breathe, to think. Panic was for those who did not know the weight of their own past. Whoever left this message wanted something from her. But what? Revenge? A warning? Or something worse, recognition? Abini's fingers twitched, her body tense. No, she would not run. She was not that woman anymore. And if someone had come to remind her of the past, they had made a mistake. Because Abini did not fear ghosts. She faced them. She stood, her mind clear. Tomorrow, she would find Olayemi. She did not know if he was friend or foe. But one thing was certain. He was not the only one watching her. And if she wanted to survive this game, she needed to understand why, before it was too late. Abini barely slept. The wooden carving sat in the corner of her home, silent but heavy with meaning. She did not need to touch it to feel the weight of the past pressing down on her. By morning, she had made up her mind. She needed to find Olayemi. He had appeared at the exact moment the shadows of her past had begun to resurface. That was no coincidence. He knew something. And Abini was done waiting for answers to find her. She found him in the marketplace, standing near a cloth merchant's stall, speaking to an elderly man. He saw her before she even approached, his eyes finding hers through the shifting crowd, as if he had been expecting her. Abini did not slow her steps. She walked directly to him, her voice low but firm. "Who are you?" Olayemi raised an eyebrow, his lips curving slightly. "I already told you my name." Abini's expression did not change. A name is not enough. The cloth merchant, sensing the tension, excused himself quickly. The moment he was gone, Abini pulled the wooden carving from the folds of her wrapper and held it up. Olayemi's face remained unreadable, but his eyes darkened slightly. "Where did you get that?" he asked. Abini's fingers tightened around the carving. "It was left in my home." Olayemi exhaled slowly, then looked around as if deciding something. Finally, he met her gaze. "There's somewhere we need to go, somewhere quieter." Abini did not hesitate. Without another word, she followed him. They walked for some time, leaving the busy part of Isale Osun behind. Olayemi led her through narrow paths and past the outskirts of town until they reached an old, abandoned compound. The walls were cracked, the wooden door slightly broken, a place forgotten by most, but not by Olayemi. He stepped inside and turned to her. This belonged to someone important, someone whose name was meant to disappear. Abini said nothing, waiting. Then Olayemi finally spoke the name. Ayinki. The name struck Abini like a knife. She had not heard it in years, because Ayinka was the name she had left behind. And if Olayemi knew it, then he knew everything. Abini felt the ground shift beneath her. Not in truth, but inside her, as if the world had suddenly lost its balance. That name, Ayinka, it did not belong to her anymore. She had buried it long ago. Yet here was Olayemi, standing before her, speaking it aloud as if it had never been forgotten. Her fingers curled into fists. "Where did you hear that name?" Olayemi watched her carefully. He was not smiling now. His voice was calm, steady. "I have my ways." Abini's pulse was slow, controlled, but inside she was already piecing together the truth. Olayemi had not come to Isale Osun by accident. He had come for her. The abandoned compound around them felt heavy with memory. She did not recognize this place, but somehow it knew her. She took a step forward. "Tell me why you are here, Olayemi. No riddles." He hesitated, then finally spoke. "I am here because someone else is looking for you." Abini's breath slowed. "Who?" Olayemi met her gaze. "Someone who remembers Ayinke." The silence between them stretched. Abini's heart did not race, but deep inside, something cold took root. She had spent years erasing that name. She had done terrible things to make sure no one would ever speak it again. And yet, it had found her. Someone from her past was searching for her. And if they had come this far, they would not stop until they found her. Abini exhaled slowly, her mind sharpening. You seem to know a lot, Olayemi. But I do not know if you are a friend or an enemy. Olayemi nodded slightly. That is fair, but I will tell you this. If you do not act first, the past will act for you. Abini looked at him, unreadable. Then she turned and walked past him, stepping back into the open air. She would not run. She had done enough running in her life, but if someone thought they could drag her back into the past, she would be ready. Abini walked away from the abandoned compound, her mind sharp, her steps steady. The name Ayinka was no longer buried. Someone had unearthed it, and that meant danger. Olayemi followed behind her, his footsteps light but deliberate. He was watching her reaction, waiting to see what she would do next. She would not give him the satisfaction. She had spent years controlling her emotions, burying her past. No man, no name, would shake her. Finally, she spoke without looking at him. How long have you been watching me? Olayemi exhaled. Long enough to know you are not the same woman they are looking for. Abini's fingers twitched slightly. So there are more, she said. Yes, Olayemi replied, and they are closer than you think. Abini stopped walking. She turned to him slowly. Then why have they not come to me yet? Olayemi studied her, his expression unreadable. They want to see if you're still dangerous. The words hung in the air between them. Abini did not flinch. She had changed. She had built a life away from bloodshed, away from the past that haunted her. But if someone had come looking for Ayinka, they had already decided who she was. And if they forced her hand, they would learn that some names are better left forgotten. That night, Abini did not sleep. She sat in the darkness of her home, her knife beside her ears tuned to every sound. She was being hunted. But a hunter does not wait for the trap to close. At dawn, she would strike first, before the past could swallow her whole. The first light of dawn stretched across Isali Osun, casting long shadows over the narrow streets. Abini moved before the town fully woke. If she was being hunted, she needed to know by whom. She had spent years learning how to track, how to sense the weight of unseen eyes. And now, she would turn the game on them. She did not go to the marketplace. She did not return to the river. Instead, she went to the places where whispers gathered. Her first stop was the old palm wine seller's hut. Baba Kahinda had been in Isale Osun longer than most, and nothing happened in town without his ears catching a trace of it. Abini approached his stall, her expression calm. Good morning, Baba. The old man looked up from his gourd of wine, his sharp eyes narrowing slightly. Ah, Abini, you do not usually come here this early. She leaned against the wooden counter. I'm looking for someone. Baba Kahinda took a slow sip from his cup, watching her. Then he nodded. The kind of person who does not wish to be found? Abini met his gaze. The kind that watches from the shadows. The old man exhaled, rubbing his beard thoughtfully. Yes, there have been strangers in town. Men who ask questions but give no answers. They do not buy. They do not settle. They only watch. Abini's chest tightened slightly. When did they arrive? A few weeks ago, Baba Kahinda said. At first, I thought they were travelers passing through, but travelers do not linger where they have no business. Abini's mind raced. Weeks ago, that meant they had been here before Olayemi approached her. They had been waiting, watching. And now, they were ready to act. Abini left the shop with more questions than answers. She needed to see Olayemi. If he knew of these men, he was not telling her everything. She quickened her pace, her path set toward the town's outskirts, where Olayemi had first led her. But then, she felt it. A shift in the air. A presence behind her. She did not stop walking, but she knew. She was not alone. And this time, whoever was following her was no longer hiding as they were closing in. Abini kept walking, her heart steady and her mind sharp. She had felt this before. The weight of unseen eyes, the silent footfalls that did not belong to a friend. Whoever followed her was close. Too close. She turned a corner, moving toward a narrow alley between two old mud brick houses. The path was quiet and empty. Then, She moved. In one swift motion, she spun around, pressing herself against the wall, knife drawn. A shadow appeared at the alley's entrance, tall, careful, and watching. The figure hesitated for half a breath, just enough time for Abini to see the shift in his stance. A fighter, a trained one. Abini stepped forward, her voice low. "You have been following me." The man did not deny it. His lips curled slightly, almost amused. "You are not easy to catch unaware." She did not relax her grip on the knife. "Who sent you?" The man tilted his head. "You already know." Abini's blood ran cold. They had finally come for her. She did not wait. She lunged. The man was fast. He stepped back, dodging her blade by inches. But Abini did not stop. She pressed her movements forward and sharp. A strike to his ribs. A slash toward his arm. He blocked the first, twisted away from the second, but he was not attacking. He was testing her. And that made her pause. "Who are you?" she asked again, breathing steady. The man exhaled, brushing dust from his sleeve. Then for the first time his expression shifted. "I am here to see if you are still her." Abini frowned. "Still who?" The man's gaze darkened. "Still Ayinka." The name sent a chill through her, but Abini did not flinch. She tightened her grip on her blade. If this man thought he could decide who she was, he was mistaken. But before she could speak, he took a step back. "We will see soon enough," he said, turning away. Abini did not move, watching as he disappeared into the winding streets. He had come to test her, to see if she was still dangerous. And if he was not alone, then worse was coming. Abini did not move until the man was completely out of sight. Even then, she did not loosen her grip on the knife. She had been tested, and she knew what that meant. They were not sure if she was still the woman they remembered, but soon they would have their answer. She inhaled slowly, steadying herself. She needed to move before they did. She found Olayemi at the edge of town, near an old weaving stall. He looked up as she approached, reading the tension in her face before she even spoke. "They found me," she said simply. Olayemi exhaled. "How many?" "One," Abini said. "But he was not alone. Others will come." Olayemi nodded. "Then we do not have much time." Abini studied him. He was too calm, too prepared. "You knew they would come," she said. Olayemi met her gaze. "I knew it was only a matter of when." Abini's jaw tightened. "And yet you said nothing." "I needed you to see it for yourself." His voice was not unkind, but it carried weight. She had tried to outrun the past, to bury Ayinka beneath a new life. But the past had not forgotten her, and now she had a choice. Run again, or face what was coming. Olayemi stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You were once feared, Abini. Do you still have that in you?" Abini held his gaze, the memories pressing at the edges of her mind. She had changed. She had left that life behind. But if they were coming for her, they had already decided who she was, and she would not let them write her story for her. She turned away, gripping the knife at her side. If the past was coming, she would meet it head-on. Abini stood at the edge of Isale Osun, the weight of her past pressing down on her like the thick evening air. The choice was clear now. She would not run. She turned to Olayemi. "Tell me everything. No more waiting." Olayemi nodded, his expression unreadable. "The men who are looking for you, they are from your past, but not just any part of it." Abini clenched her jaw. "Go on." "They are the ones who survived you," Olayemi said. The words hit her like a stone. She had always known there might be ghosts left behind, people who had suffered because of who she used to be, all the massacres, betrayals, and deadly burdens she gave out to her past bandit group, after knowing fully they were oppressing not only the dangerous and bad lives, but the good and benevolent lives too, as she was been lured by her past bandit group to act with them. But she had never expected them to come looking. Olayemi continued. "They want to know if you have truly changed, or if Ayinka still exists beneath your skin." Abini's fingers twitched at her side. They were not here for revenge, not yet. They wanted to see her reaction, to test her. She exhaled slowly. "Then I will show them." Olayemi studied her, waiting. "And if they decide they don't like what they see?" Then they will learn that I do not fear them. Abini met his gaze, her voice steady. The past had come knocking, and this time she would answer. That night Abini did not sleep. She sharpened her blade, prepared her mind, and waited. By dawn, when she would face them, and whatever happened next, it would be on her terms. The sun had barely risen when Abini stepped into the open streets of Azale Osun. She did not hide. She walked with purpose, her head high, her knife hidden but ready. She had spent too long running. Today, it would end. Olayemi followed at a distance. This was her fight, and soon she saw them, 3 men, standing at the edge of the marketplace waiting for her. Their eyes locked the moment she approached. They knew who she was, but they did not speak first. Instead, she had to speak first. "You have been looking for me," Abini said, her voice even. "Here I am." One of the men, a tall, scarred figure, tilted his head slightly, measuring her. "You used to be someone else," he said. Abini held his gaze. "That woman is gone." The man nodded slowly, then glanced at his companions. A silent exchange, a decision. Then he stepped forward. "If that is true, we will leave. But if it is a lie, you will see us again." Abini did not blink. "I do not fear your return." The man studied her for a long moment. Then, without another word, he turned and walked away. The others followed. Abini watched them disappear into the morning mist. And for the first time in years, she felt free. Not because they had left, but because she had faced them. She had not run. She had not fought. She had simply stood, and that was enough. Olayemi stepped beside her, his voice low. "It is over." Abini exhaled. "No," she said.